What's happening, people? I'm DJ Graish, and in tonight's live stream I'm going to sample Oasis's most hated song and turn it into a liquid drum and bass track. So let me know if you can see me, let me know if you can hear this music, and let me know if you can see Ableton Live. So as always, I'm starting off with my orchestral drum and bass track. So this one was featured in a tutorial called How to Make Orchestral Drum and Bass. So if you're interested in seeing how this one was made, check it out. And if anyone's there in the chat, just let me know if you can see me. Let me know if the video is working and the audio is working. Perfect, thank you. So big up Suklal, shout out Future World Machines. Sounds like, it looks like everything's going pretty smoothly so far. So it's time for our weekly weather report, and it's just the same as last time. Ridiculously hot. It's like even in the middle of the night it's above 25 degrees. And I want to give a special shout out to my lovely lady Manilyn Sahagun, tuned in from your Frank, and she's up the coast in Costa Brava at the moment. So yeah, ridiculously hot, but on Tuesday apparently it's going to be a little bit lower. The maximum will be 26 and the lowest will be 21. And apparently it's raining in North Carolina. Where are the rest of you guys tuned in from? And how's the weather been? How's your summer going? So yeah, Future World Machines is saying it was a clickbait title. And basically what it was is, I heard this sample a couple of months ago, and I was thinking I could turn that into a drum and bass tune. But I might as well wait until Oasis start their comeback tour, because I know a lot of people have been searching for Oasis this weekend to see how well they did with their first couple of gigs. I know I was. And I was pleasantly surprised to hear that they were sounding good. Liam's voice was pretty good. Let's see if it holds up. A mate of mine's got tickets to see him in Manchester in a few weeks, so let's see if he's still singing well by then. So some of you are probably wondering what is Oasis's most hated tune. And I'm going to tell you in just a moment. So right now the tune's coming to an end, and then I'm going to reveal. Shout out Jen P from Pobla Sec. And Jenny was just eating a cheeseburger and inspired me to do the same, so I whacked a burger in the air fryer just before the stream and ate that, and now I've had to turn off the AC unit and I'm already feeling a bit too hot, but it's just going to get hotter over the next 2 hours. Anyway, so that one's called Side Quest, like I say, you can watch a tutorial to see how I made it, and eventually that's going to be released as well. I don't know when. But anyway, here's a new Ableton Live set. As always, we start off with 2 MIDI tracks, 2 audio tracks, and the default BPM is 120. So let me go into my little folder here, and there's one that's called Production, and within this folder, hopefully, we have that Oasis tune. And there it is. So the tune that I'm on about is called Little James, and the tune is about a little boy. And the production on it's really good, but the lyrics are pretty terrible, and I think it was written by Liam Gallagher. And I think it might, if I'm not mistaken, it might be his first track that he wrote for Oasis. So I'm going to have to be pretty careful when it comes to copyright, but I'm going to play you some snippets at the beginning of this tune. So it starts off like this. So you got that sort of reversed sound, and then that carries on. And here you've got the piano. Shout out Gary Roach. And big up Suklal. I'm glad the celebrations went well for 4th of July. So anyway, essentially the tune starts off with some reverse bits. And then after a little bit it goes into a piano. And I'm going to cut it off there. So that's where he starts singing. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this tune. Let me know if you've ever heard Little James and what you think of it. I've seen a few like threads on Reddit and stuff that were saying it is their worst tune. Shout out Danny, he's not a fan. And big up Aaron303. So anyway, you may have heard that right at the beginning of the tune it's got this little fart thing. It goes like this. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to need to get rid of that somehow. So what I'm going to do is just hold down Control and drag sideways till we get just after that. And I'm just going to press Command and E and separate this part here. And I'll just loop this bit here. Now you can see that Ableton Live has set the project tempo to 81.97 BPM. Now if we just double that, that makes 164 basically. So maybe that's what I should do. Put this up to 164 and see how it's sounding. And then we've got this other bit that's got this piano. And the reason why I keep stopping it is because I don't want it to get flagged. Anyway. Thank you for the super chat, Gary Roach. I really appreciate it. So what I was thinking about doing is actually doing a quick slice to MIDI on this. So the way how you do that is you right click some audio and then where is it? Usually there's slice to MIDI there. Not sure why that's not available. Maybe the copyright's onto me. You can't slice it up, it's copyrighted. Anyway, I don't like the way how it jumps because I had to ditch that little bit off the beginning, right? But what about if I just loop this bit? No, it's got to be all of it. I think I can just time stretch that first bit just a little bit so that it doesn't have the horrible click at the beginning. So what you do is just turn on warping just for this slice, hold down shift and just drag that to the beginning there. Now I'm going to consolidate all of this as one clip. So highlight both of them, Command and J. Let's consolidate it all into one. And actually, there's another bit that needs sorting out at this end. Wait. I'm going to undo that consolidating, and I'll do that after I've sorted this bit out. Bear with us. So I'm going to turn on this little warp marker here, and then this one here, I'm going to move that to the line. It's like that. Maybe a bit further. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to consolidate this reversed part all as one. Now it's on 164 BPM. I'm not sure if I want the tune to be that slow or if I want it to be 174. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Should have sampled Kylie instead. Anyway, let's have a listen to some drums. And, you know, on several streams I've featured a sample pack by Ghost Syndicate. Actually, I've got the whole Liquid drum and bass bundle. So where's... It's there, Ghost Syndicate. There's all these different drum and bass packs. So, for example, Journey. I've never listened to these before. This is literally the first time I'm hearing them. So, kick snare loops. Let's see what else we've got. Alright, drum one shots. Let's have a listen to some kicks. Might go for kick 10. It's going to put that there and there. Let's have a listen to some of these snares. I mean, they're all pretty appropriate, so I'm just going to go with snare 4 for now. Just going to hold down Alt and put that on the 2 and the 4. And then I'm going to highlight one bar like this and just press Command and D. Now we've got this. Alright, let's have a listen to some of these drum loops, and there's top loops. So let's check some of these out. And what you can do is play the track and then play the top loop. Quite like this one. Sue Klaus says he already hears the bass line. I'm sorry it's taken a little while. Thank you for sticking with me. But so far we've just got these reversed. It's like a reverse guitar, I suppose. I'm just going to add some EQ and make sure there's not too much going on in the sort of mid-range. All right, let's have a listen to the piano part. Does this loop well? Can turn on warping. So it should go to 12 there. Pretty sure this stream's going to get demonetized because this section's quite long. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and put some of these on the grid. And I feel like either I'm kind of flailing or maybe this piano player wasn't really playing to a metronome. That's almost it. All right, let's have a listen with the drums and bass. Got a feeling Noel Gallagher's going to be making a couple of euros off this one. We shall see. Anyway, I'm going to go to instruments, and there's this one that I love to use called Simple Sine Sub, or is it Basic Sine Sub? If you just type in sine, we should see it. Basic sine sub or sub sine. I'll turn on the little MIDI keyboard. Okay, so that's sounding distorted as hell. So I'll need to turn it down a bit. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but basically this one good thing about this is it comes with this distortion knob and this overtone. Right, I'm going to turn everything down because I am peaking. So to do that, one little trick you can do is to click the first track, hold down shift, and then click the last track like that, so they're all highlighted. And then just bring down all of the faders by a few dB, and then just check your master. Right, we're hitting up to -1. It's all good. One thing I like to do is, with this subsine, just to give it a little bit more of movement, what you can do is just get the auto filter, put it on turn on this LFO. To start with, you can put the LFO all the way up. Put this rate on, for example, like 1/8. Once you're happy with the rate and everything, you can turn the amount back down. Let's see if Suklal is right, because I'm playing this on my computer MIDI keyboard and I played it like this. Let's see where that is. F up to C, G. Well, there's a G in there, so okay. I don't know how I ended up reversing part of the drums, but it sounded good. I don't know how that's happened. I literally didn't do that. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably use it as a little rewind before the drop, but who's told you to reverse? Yeah, it's gone and reversed like all of these. I have no idea how it's done that. Anyway, for a little bit of fun, maybe I should just chuck in the Amen break. Because we've got the pre-made top loop, and, you know, it might be fun to just layer that with the amen. So people who were here last week, I was talking about this thread, and I'm just going to repeat myself because it's worth repeating. That on Reddit, there's this thread where somebody was asking for all the classic jungle breaks, and then the top commenter said, here's a download link for a Google Drive, and it's this folder, all CD quality famous breaks. And if you've not already got it, or even if you've got a classic folder of all the standard breaks, I recommend checking this one out because it's pretty extensive. I mean, we've got Amen's folder there, but we've also got... Hang on, where was I? All CD famous breaks, right? And then Audio Animals Amen break. Now look at this. We've got Amen break clean, no saturation. We've got clean silk blue, silk red. We've also got driven silk red. So let's have a listen to some of these. Now, last time I was using clean silk red, and I thought they sounded really good. So I'm just going to simply drag in Amen break 2 clean silk red. And let's have a listen how that sounds with the rest of the drums. What I'm going to do is, since we've already got a weighty kick and everything, I'm going to take out some of the low end of the Amen break. They're quite a divisive band, and many people love to hate them. But at the end of the day, all we've got here is some piano and some reverse guitars. Alright, gonna group that together, call it drums. And this is something I would never usually do, but I might try and pitch it down. No, I'm pitching it up a semitone and a half. There's also this thing, if you go onto beats mode, don't know if you've ever seen this, I just want to show you guys this. Not necessarily saying you should use it, but if you go onto beats mode and then put it onto transients, and then there's this arrow pointing to a line like that, and it says 100, right? Now if you turn down this 100, it basically takes away the sustain of each one of the drum hits. Now if you play the Amen by itself like this, it'll sound completely weird. But sometimes when you layer it with other drums, and then if you take away the Amen, it can sound alright. You can just sort of add something. You might not want to take it down to 31, you might want to have it higher. But if I put it back to 100, you hear that. There's a lot of noise. Another thing you can do with the Amen break is this. Let me show you something. Don't know if you guys have ever done this sweeping technique where you get an EQ8 and you boost at a certain... You put the Q super narrow, for example, like this, and then hunt around for the worst frequencies. So then you can find something you don't like and then just literally crank this gain knob all the way down. And then you can do a before and after by turning this EQ off and on. Now it's up to you. You might think it sounds better, you might think it sounds worse, but that's just a way of like isolating certain frequencies and dropping them out. Sometimes all you really need to do though is just crank down that one particular track, for example the Amen. I feel like it should go boom, boom, boom. Maybe I'll do a alternating between the wobbly bass and some 808s. All right. So make sure you turn on this little headphones symbol and then you can actually hear what you're doing. So the idea of why I'm leaving these gaps in it is that I want to put the 808s in there so it goes boom, boom. So I'll show you what I mean. So anyway, for the people who are new here, I always use the same 808 and I always tune it the same way and everything. So bear with me if you've seen this a million times. But for the people who haven't, basically in Breakbeat Paradise, I have this 808 called Super Dope. And I love it, but it's not exactly in tune. So I always give it a little detune. In fact, I have to put it up to 47 cents. And just to show you what I mean, I'm just going to grab the tuner, also known as a tuner, and press a C. So now it's in perfect tune, you know, or as close as you can get it. Now I'm just going to create another MIDI clip here, Shift, Command and M. So it was in F, right? Where's the other F? I don't know, but I know on the last one, I do want it to go boom, boom. So C. Sorry. Then the last one was G, wasn't it? Shout out Suklo. You got an ear for the chords. Do you play guitar or anything like that? You get some people that are just, they can hear like a little tone and then they can just be like, that's a G sharp. How about this? Just messing about, guys. I knew it. I knew you played an instrument. So you were an upright bass player. How come you stopped? That would be such an amazing thing to include in drum and bass tracks. I was just thinking, it's only every other one that's got the 808, so why? Maybe I'll automate this. You see how I was just changing the amount knob so it goes. So on the first bit, all right, I'll show you what I mean. So this amount knob starts off low. Then when it does this longer note here, I'm going to make it go up like this. And then it's down and then it's up. I heard a tune the other day with an amazing upright bass bit with like no drums, no singing, no anything. It was just absolutely prime for sampling. And I can't remember what it was called, but it was playing from my phone and I took a screenshot. So perhaps on one of these live streams, we'll flip that sample. So I'm going to put basic, subsine and 808 into a group together and call it bass. And then we've got little James, which is going to have its own little group called instruments. And it's probably time to think about having some other instruments that are going to join it. So how about if I do a little bit of a cheeky convert to a new harmony track? And you know, if you've ever done this, you'll know that this is going to sound terrible at first, but you can work on it and make it sound good. So to start with, it sounds like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just switch the instrument to the contact Rhodes. So I'm going to choose the Scarby Mark 1. And then essentially it's a case of deleting some of the MIDI notes so that it sounds clean and good. You could hear, I mean, it sounded like a tone-deaf child banging away on the keyboard. But if you listen carefully, you can hear some nice chords in there. Especially when it gets to that bar 5 there. So you have to figure out what's staying and what's going. So these lower ones can go. Some of this top stuff. I converted to harmony because when it's chords you need to do harmony. I think if you do melody it just converts it, it'll try and do it to one note. So this was kind of a fail, to be honest. I'm not liking it. Sometimes I like to just make basic chords like this. Just drag them sideways. It's a bit tedious and it's I know not the most entertaining thing to watch on a stream, but kind of got to be done. sometimes if you add a note and you're not sure about it, what you can do is kind of try and bury it a bit. So you see how I added that note, and by default it came up with 100 on the velocity, and you're like, it sounds a bit out of place. Well, just try it with the velocity down here instead. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just bring all of those up like that. Wait. So inside in this contact, you've also got the gentleman. So you can try a basic gentleman. Alright, so I'm going to choose one of these contacts to be just very, very simple and get rid of all the melody parts of it. So like for example these bits, and don't worry, I'm not getting rid of them from every channel. And you see, the thing is about that, Future World Machines, listen to the tune. So you've got chord 1, chord 2 and chord 3, right? Here we're up to chord 3. And then on the fourth bar, it basically, or the fourth 2 bars, it stays on the same chord. So all of this is the same chord. So I'm not doubting you. I'm sure there must be an A minor in there somewhere. But at least for this first section, it's basically just the G, C and the F. So anyway, I wanted to do some little tricks. Sometimes I like to do a bit of stretching and reversing and stuff like that. So one thing you can do is bring this over here, convert it to actual audio by freezing and flattening. Then you can sort of have a play with these chords and stretch them, reverse them, or both. I'm just going to splice it up like that, and this is the first chord. So let's try it reversed and time stretched. Oops. Shout out They Lie We See. So, in order to time stretch something, if warping is turned on, what you can do is just hold down shift and drag the clip sideways, and then it's up to you whether you want the back of the clip, or you might just want the middle. Like, get rid of the front, the start and the finish, and then you've just got this middle bit. And you might need to do a tiny little fade in, so there's no click. So let's do the same again with the next one. So I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to stretch it so it's twice as long. So that's to there. And I'm going to get rid of the first bit and the last bit. And then I'm going to put it there. And it goes like this. And as you can hear, there's a click. So one thing you can do is just crossfade them into each other like that. And then these two, as I was saying before, they're basically the same chord twice. But we can just do a mega time stretch on this one if we want to. So stretch it as twice as long. Take the middle bit of that one. Yeah, we can just carry on doing the same thing. So as in, reverse it, stretch it, take the middle bit, and then I'll just do some cross fading in between each one. This sort of adds to the reversed effect as well, and they sort of wash into each other. Maybe that was a bit too much. And you need to be careful with the beginning and end. Alright, so I've put a hybrid reverb on there. I'm just taking out all the low end with this EQ section. I'm going to put this on a hall. And there's one that I've been using a lot recently called Long Synth Hall. Especially when I'm making long synth sounds. And then what else have we got? We could try a little tiny bit of delay on it. Alright, so with the Little James, don't forget there was that bit at the beginning that we can just use without the main piano section. I need to start organising because I've got 3 channels all called contact. And I've got 2 little Jameses. So this is main LJ. This is intro LJ. This is Rev Rhodes. That's normal Rhodes. And this is piano. So don't forget we've got a normal Rhodes here, which may or may not get used. And then we have the piano version. They could get used like right at the end of the tune, when there's like, you've already heard the first drop, the second drop, and it's now something else has to happen. Bring in the cheesy piano. All right. I think you can see where I'm going with this. So it was what? F? F, C, G? No. G, C, F. Why am I on F to start with then? Alright, so obviously we've got a section where there's the wobble bass, but that's not going to be for the whole tune. So for a moment there's going to, you know, on a different section, it's going to shut up the wobble bass, and we're going to go to the 808s with 808s, so it's going to sound like this. Shout out Jason in the chat. So Jason, since you're just joining us, basically the clickbait title, I was going on about Oasis's most hated tune. It's this tune called Little James that was written by Liam Gallagher. Now, up until this point, Noel had written all of the tunes, and this was Liam's first tune. And it's about a little boy called James, and I don't know who the boy is or whatever, but the lyrics were pretty basic, pretty naive. The tune's regarded as one of the worst Oasis tunes of all time, but it's got some pretty good production, and right at the beginning it's got these reverse bits that I've always wanted to sample. So here's one of them. So you got that reverse bit, and then you've got another one that's like the reverse bit with piano. Which I'm almost certainly going to get a copyright infringement notification. So then I've reversed a Rhodes to go along with it. We've got a normal Rhodes. So basically the Rhodes was made using Convert Harmony to a new MIDI track. And the same with this cheesy piano. maybe it should be. All right. We have to... Actually, Future World Machines, you're not the first person to say that. A mate of mine, when I told him about the idea for this stream, and I said it's got this great reverse sample, and he said the exact same thing. What does it sound like when you reverse the reverse sample? It sounds like this. So it sounds like that. It's actually piano. I thought it was reverse guitar. What I think I should do is intro LJ panned one side and Rev Rhodes panned the other side. How about that? I just wanted the three different bass styles to sound different, even though there's 808 and then there's 808, you know. So, but I wanted one of them's got the sinoid fold. It goes analog clip and slightly less drive, and then sinoid fold, which sounds totally different. So for the people who watch my channel, you'll know I like to do a subtle bit of glue compression and then try out the drum bus. And this damp control on the drum bus basically dampens off your top end, and you can choose to go from 20 kilohertz, which is, it's wide open and it's basically doing nothing, and then you can gradually bring it down. And if you feel like your drums have got like too much going on in the high end, you can sort of take a little bit off. So just be aware of that, because if you're ever going to use the drum bus, you need to be aware that there's a damp control. And by default, I think it's set to around between 10 and 12 kilohertz. You might not even be aware that you're like taking off some of the top end of your drums. Anyway, another thing that I love to put on there is tape saturation, and I've got this free one called To Tape 8 from Air Windows. Now take off the flutter, take off the head bump, bring down the output, and then crank the input. And one thing that's good to do when you're putting all this stuff on your drums is group them all together by clicking the first effect, hold shift, click the last one so they're all selected like that, press Command and G. Now they're in an effects group, and what you can do is turn it off and listen carefully, and also look carefully at your meter. So my drums are hitting up to -2.5 and they sound like this. Now if I turn on all of those effects together, -5.5, more controlled, roughly sounding around the same volume, although you've actually gained 3 dB of headroom, and they're sounding obviously crunchier. Depends what you're into, you know. You might want really clean drums, you might want some dirt in the top end. I want to shout out the GOS in the chat. So since you've just joined us, the most hated Oasis track that I was on about is called Little James, and I've taken a little reversed thing from the beginning of it that sounds like this. How about a dudum? Worth a try, isn't it? But should it be everyone? Is that just going to get annoying? It's worth a try. So how's it going? How's everyone doing? How was your weekend? Hope you had a good one. Let me know what you've been up to in the chat. I've had a really chilled one, to be honest. I've had a lot going on over the past couple of weeks, so I finally had a chance to just chill and really spend a day by myself and just did some work, sent some emails, did a little bit of editing on my new YouTube video. Today I was helping a friend paint a living room in the midday sun, and it was just insanely hot. Way too hot to try and do any work like that, to be honest. Alright, it's time to get orchestral. So I'm going to go into instrument rack and orchestral and have a listen to some of these strings. Future world machines. People definitely do the siesta here. In fact, all shops shut 2 till 5. It's an absolute pain in the backside. And, you know, in the winter you're a bit like, see it as a bit of a farce, to be honest, and like, why are you doing this right when I need to go to the shop? Why are you closing it? But at this time of the year, especially, you know, when they don't have AC, it's a bit like, yeah, okay, go home and have a nap, because it's just too hot to do anything else. Right, so I saw there's this amazing producer called what's he called now? There's this amazing producer called Kino, and he makes orchestral drum and bass. And I heard this advice from him, and then from another YouTuber who was just like, who's a strings player, who was kind of giving some advice on making MIDI strings. And both of them said the same thing, which was basically, you know, when you go into your orchestral samples and there's ones that say violin section, and then you've got violin solo, right? Now, both of these two people suggested the same thing, which was don't go for the section, but instead build up a load of different solo instruments like the violin, the viola, the cello, and all the rest of it. Build them up, make solo ones, and then build them up so that you've got basically an orchestra. So what I've just done now is I've made the violin and the viola, and they're playing sort of complementary notes that make a chord together, and it sounds like this. And then what we can do is attempt to add a third one. So we could use the cello. Then there's the French horn. Well, let's try the cello. Right, I'm going to try and add some. So obviously the cello was just playing the root note, but I might try with the French horn to add some kind of complementary harmonies. Just trying something, you know, bear with me a second. Anyway, you know. That's a good point, Ben. Anyway, this little melody was just an experiment. What I'm going to do is turn the velocities right down. Okay, the glockenspiel's there. How's that, Future World Machines? We might not have a triangle, but we could put in a bit of glockenspiel. Yeah, there are all these add-on packs. Look. Orchestral brass, orchestral mallets, orchestral strings, brass quartet. So I added them on, and then they appear, and if you go into instruments, you go into orchestral, they're all in there. And also, if you're going to have so many orchestral elements, maybe it's best to spread them around with the panning so it sounds like you've got a room full of instruments. I'll keep the cello fairly central. So my instruments group is I've just whacked on the EQ8 and taken out some of the low end. The violin, Suklal, the violin was the first one I did, but I was thinking more of a, you know, the junk, 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 junk. You know, like a violin that's sort of going junk, 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 junk. Basically like the intro tune to this stream. Instruments, instrument rack, orchestral. And what's it called? It's like, is it staccato? Okay. Violin. Maybe the viola staccato sounded better, actually. an E there. There's been no E in this so far, but... Shout out Ben. Sounds like you might actually know something about playing real instruments. Dun, dun, dun. You know, maybe it should just carry on the same. I love that when that happens, you know, when you get a melody, like the chord changes and the melody just carries on. Sometimes it can sound great. Shout out Misty. Sometimes being a nerd actually makes things faster, because for me, yeah, I can like hear when it sounds like it's in the right key and it sounds right and it sounds good, but I just don't know how to express it as like, oh, we're playing in the key of F suspended seventh or whatever, you know. You know, that was an experiment and a failed one. Right, let me try this. Could be terrible. Could work. Let's find out. Excuse me. Yeah, loads of famous musicians who are really good didn't know how to write music, read music, or even really know what key they're playing in. I think Jimmy did, or maybe he did by ear for sure. Try this. Kind of feel like it should go doon 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 doon. And there, they just put one up for no reason. You know, there's no rules. Well, there are rules, but I'm breaking them. All right, it's time for the orchestra. Alright, so I've got 20 tracks. I think that's enough to make a little arrangement. So the question is, how's it going to start? Well, let me just get rid of this bit here. So we've got a tidy little 8 bars. What I always do is highlight everything and press Command and X to cut it and paste it where you think the drop's going to be. And a lot of the time that's at bar 33. Probably should save this as well. Never go an hour and like an hour and 37 minutes into a tune without saving it. I'm just going to call this LJ. So you need to, what's it called? do as I say and not as I do. So don't copy me and just keep working on a tune for an hour and 37 minutes without ever pressing save, because you might end up miserable when it all disappears. So, what's it going to start off like? So maybe this little double kick thing shouldn't happen really in the intro. And maybe I could save the amen break for the drop and get rid of it here. We've got plenty to play with, so there's various ways I could go, you know. Way. The Oasis pun. So what do I go with as the sort of intro? Okay. So the Rev Rhodes. Right, let's hear how that and the drum sounds. Yeah, Ben's saying about the auto recovery. Yeah, to be honest with you, there's been many times where it's crashed on me and I've been very relieved that it didn't actually lose everything. And that can put you into a false sense of confidence, and then one day it disappears on you. Let's add... Let me try something. Right, we're going to have two piano channels, and one of them's going to be the one that's got the little tinkly melody, and one of them's not. So this is the piano basic. So it's best to rename that track. Piano basic. And that way, also, if I want to, I could put a bit of delay on that to make it slightly less boring. And it could go like... In fact, you know what? There's loads of different presets of this gentleman, and I never go through them, so let's have a listen. We've got... Wait. How do you go through them? So you've got basic gentleman, you've got doled up. Harsh upright. You got in a jazz club. I think harsh upright sounded pretty good actually. So Ben is saying we could have the cello gently swelling from behind. was thinking about here, possibly after 16 bars is where we hear the full orchestra. And also we hear intro LJ. And then obviously I need some kind of like risers and swish sounds, and then it goes into. So what I think is that viola solo needs a load of effects on it. Like, for example, the hybrid reverb. I've said before on live streams and stuff that, like, what you should do is if you make a little melody that's got these really short, sharp notes, one thing you can do is just put a delay on it and then try all the different timings. And as you can hear, now I'm not saying I'm necessarily actually going to use this, but just listen how much more interesting that's made that when I put it on the 6th timing. Thank you, Suklal. I'm basically just, well, this is the way I work, but I think it really fits with being a kind of an Ableton Live educator that I just basically show you mainly stuff from Ableton Live. By the way, do any of you guys use the push, the Ableton Live push? So I've made one tutorial using the Push 2 on my channel, and I think it's an amazing controller and I love using it. However, there is the sort of, it kind of feels pointless making content with a controller that's from 10 years ago, and now they've brought out the Push 3, which is the modern one, you know. So, needless to say, at some point I will be getting a Push 3, and I'm in talks with Ableton Live about that, hoping to get one provided because it is pretty expensive. I would absolutely love it if they gave me one, and then I could just be here making tutorials with the Push 3. And I need to have a camera above my desk mounted down to show you the view of it. Nah, FL Studio is good, man, from what I've seen. I mean, you guys, the people who use FL Studio, you've already got stem separation, right? Which is something that Ableton is kind of behind on. And I feel like, I mean, they keep bringing out 12.2, 12.5 or whatever, but I think they're holding back the stem separation for a major version. So it'll probably be in Ableton Live 13. And I can't wait. I can't wait to be able to just like isolate a vocal, chuck it in a tune. Because you'll see in my latest tutorial that I'm working on right now, I did actually have to use an external stem separator. I'm using one called Fader, and it's spelt like F-A-D-R, Fader. But fader.com costs like $10 a month for the subscription. It doesn't even do a great job, to be honest with you. And Ben's saying Audacity has one, which is free, right? So, well, you say it has a plugin for stem separation. Does that cost money? Fader, apparently, I think you can download MP3 files free of charge. But obviously, you want the WAVs, so I paid the $10 a month. Alright, so I've got a sample here that's just called Harsh White Noise. Does exactly what it says on the tin. And I'm going to be using this to make one of these like white noise risers and sweepers. So first thing I'm going to do is turn it right down, because as you can see it is literally just a block of noise and it's really loud and oppressive. So I've cranked it right down by 11 dB, and next I'm going to draw for a ton of effects to try and make it sound nicer, including the delay, including the hybrid reverb, including chorus. I'm just going to pile these effects on there, and obviously I'm going to need the auto filter as well. Thank you, Ben. So Ben is saying the Audacity plugin that you can use for like isolating vocals and stem separation, it's called OpenVino, and it is a plugin for Audacity. So if you guys want to be able to do some free stem separation, check it out. And thanks to Ben for suggesting it. So anyway, as I was saying, this filter, this white noise sample, obviously by itself it sounds horrendous. But if you put some delay, some chorus, auto filter and reverb, you can get this effect. Which is great for putting on like transitions between one section to the next. Future World Machines is saying you can use FL Studio as a plugin within other programs, and I didn't know that. I've thought about like let me know what you guys think of this idea. Ableton, so video title. Ableton, lifelong Ableton user tries FL Studio for the first time, and it'll be a genuine reaction, so it won't be me like practicing first and then recording a video. It'll be literally me trying it out for the first time on camera, and I might be pleasantly surprised by some things. I might be pulling my hair out at other things. And needless to say, when you do one of these white noise sweeps, you layer it super quiet in the mix, so you can only really just hear it. Probably better if it's there, actually. So it needs a lot of work, but it's, you know, shaping up. So I'm going to use the harsh white noise again. This time I'm going to go with an upwards one. So all you need to do is just touch this frequency control. You'll see the automation there. This time, go like that in an upwards direction. I really feel like it should be probably just drums and bass on the drop. Ableton user tries Bitwig Studio for the first time. Could make a bit of a series of it. Just an idea. One thing I was going to do is, nobody steal this idea by the way, but you know I've already got a video about trying out the first ever Ableton Live 1.0. It did really well, it's currently on 26,000 views. So I thought, well, what about if I try out the first ever this and the first ever that? So I looked into it. It turns out the first ever FL Studio, you can only run it on, well, by the way, it was called Fruity Loops back then, and you can only run it on Windows 95 and Windows 98. So not only, I'm not even a Windows user, right? But not only I'll have to get a Windows machine, but I'll have to like put some old school Windows on there, and then you're kind of opening yourself up to getting viruses and stuff. So the whole thing is going to be a massive sacrifice to make a video. But yeah, out to the Fruity Loops crew. I actually remember a mate using it in the mid 2000s, but I think the first version's from like 97. So one thing you can do is you can put an auto filter on your drums, and you can gradually filter it down. So Ben is saying he was using the first ever version of Reason. So one thing you can do is this, right? Automate this filter frequency so that you start off, right, make sure there's no resonance on it. Why? Because you don't want to be like boosting a certain frequency. Then once the frequency knob turns past, for example, 90 or 100, it's going to boost your kick, and then you go past 200 and it's going to boost your snare, and you don't want it to do that. But what you want it to do is gradually crank this frequency knob so that, oops, that's the wrong one. I'm saying don't add any resonance. This frequency, you want to take it up. So what we want these drums to do is gradually go away, but in a subtle way, so that when we get to this orchestral section here, the drums don't just abruptly stop. So you could do something like this. So we've got an auto filter gradually taking out the low end and then the mids. And perhaps we'll take it a step further. And what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to get a reverb. Maybe I'll just use the regular old school reverb for this one. And with this, I'm going to also automate the dry and wet knob. So we'll start off with nothing, and we'll automate it so that it gets up to 50% by the time the drums go away. So it sounds like this. and then you can choose if you want the decay time to be that long or lower. Out to the Acid Pro users. So the thing that I just showed you with the auto filter, we can even try and do the same thing again, but this time with the instruments, and like filter it downwards so that we're getting rid of top end. So let's try it just as a little experiment. So we've got our orchestral section here, got this filter frequency here, and I could just gradually make it go down like that, taking off the top end, muffling it down, and then obviously on the drop it needs to all suddenly, well, what you can do is there's also the on-off switch, and what you can do is have it so that it's off, but then you automate it to turn on during a certain section like that. So this bar 33 is the drop, and you can see that the auto filter is going to turn off on the drop. And obviously the drums one needs to do the same. So we've got, what I'll do is I'll group together the auto filter and the reverb into one, and then I'm going to automate this on-off button so that this one, hang on a second, this just comes on during this section here. Wait. Okay, so this one comes on. Shout out the Infidel UK. So Infidel, we are working with a sample from Oasis called Little James, widely known as the worst ever Oasis track, and it's this little loop here. Wait. That's how the tune starts. Then it goes into this bit. So I'm not really using that much of that track, but I'm using the chord structure of it and the general vibe. So I've basically built up an orchestra to play it, and it sounds like this. And this is a way of working that I've spoken about this before, but you start off with a sample and you work around that sample and you build all these drums and bass and all these other instruments around that sample, and eventually you've made so many layers that you could actually just get rid of the sample, and you've essentially got a lot of elements to make a drum and bass tune or whatever type of tune you want, you know. So in this case I've got my own piano, Rhodes, reversed. I've made this reverse Rhodes that's makes a kind of a pad sound. No EQ on it at all at the moment. But I suppose it'd be more paddy if I got rid of some of the top and bottom and just concentrate on the mid-range. Nice one, Infidel. So obviously I was saying at the beginning of the stream that it's pretty appropriate that they did their first gigs, their comeback tour in Cardiff this weekend. So I've had this little idea in the chamber for a while, and I thought to myself, like a couple of months ago, I'll do that Oasis stream when they finally start doing their first gigs. So they did them this weekend, and now I'm doing the stream. Shout out Ben. He's not happy with the traffic on the M4. And another thing that I always do, and perhaps I've done it too much, but I always grab a little bit of a break and make like a little fill at the end of a 16-bar section. There's various different things you can do, but I always say it's like if a drummer is playing the drums, right, and he gets to the end of the verse and it's about to go into the chorus, and he'll do like a and that's called a fill. And when it comes to making electronic music, if you've just got the same pattern going round and round and round again, it makes it more interesting if you put some kind of a fill at the end of each 16-bar section. So one thing you can do is just grab a little bit of any old break. It could be the Amen, it could be the Think break, it could be anything. And you just get a 1 bar and put that there. You can pitch it up, you can pitch it down. You can even do a breaking, sort of like as if you're playing it on a turntable and you go, you know what I mean? So let's try the Amen break. Clean silk. All right. So what you do is you cut out a bar of your actual drums and replace it with the fill. And then you can also get rid of the bass and everything else from that 1 bar, so it's just that. Shout out Distant Lands in the chat. Maybe they should go boom, boom, boom. Boom. Just an idea. I want to shout out a load of people in the chat. So we've got Suklal Music, Future World Machines. We've got Ben. We've got Infidel UK. We've got Distant Lands. I want to shout out Jason Story, Misty. I don't know where Clive is tonight, but I want to big up Clive, Danny, Gary Roach, Jen, and Manilyn Sahagun. Thank you all for tuning in. And by the way, if you want to support the channel, there's various ways you can do it, including signing up to Grace Nation, which is the membership. There's 3 tiers to choose from, ranging from, I think the lowest one is like €2. You can also just subscribe and like the video. That's a free way of showing some support, and it spreads these streams out to more people. If any of you are interested in doing actual lessons with me, I do lessons via Zoom, and if you want to, you can get in touch with me. There is an email address. Well, I've not written it in the description this time, but my email address is just grace@icloud.com. So send me an email if you're interested in doing lessons with me, and we can organise just a preliminary chat on Zoom so we can get to know each other. Right, so I've got these drum kits. I mean, I never know which one to use, but we'll go for deep snare dynamics just randomly. I'm just having a listen. I want to have a listen to some of the rides and stuff and see if, instead of this bit just being drumless, maybe we could just have some ride cymbals or something going on. So I'm unsure about the Amen fill. And maybe we could try a different one, because it could just be that. A standard 1 bar of normal Amen drums instead of the one with the crash. So let's try this. I'll put it on repitch. Try bar 2. Getting towards the end of the stream now, guys, so if you've got any questions, comments or critiques, feel free to drop them in the chat. As I say, if you want to support the channel, sign up to Grace Nation. If you want to help me reach more people, make sure you subscribe to this and, you know, subscribe to the channel, click the like button, share with your mates. If you've got any mates who want to learn how to make drum and bass or jungle or whatever, share my tutorials with them. And by the way, as a little sneak preview of what's to come, my next tutorial is going to be UK Garage, and I had not that much experience with making garage, but I recently learned, and now I want to pass on my newfound knowledge to you guys, and I'm pretty flipping happy with the tune that I made, considering I have not that much garage experience. Like, the tune that I've made is just like a bassline banger, so can't wait for you all to see the tutorial and hear the tune. It's like two-step garage. It's about 132 BPM. I'm not sure if that counts as speed garage. I heard that the way how it all started in the UK is, well, garage, I didn't know this, but garage is originally from America. And I'm pretty sure that many British people think that it's ours and it's a UK genre and we invented it and stuff. But just like house and techno, it all comes from America. It's just that we put our own spin on it afterwards, you know? Anyway, I heard that what happened was there was people in London who got hold of these American garage records and they liked them, but they thought that they were a bit too slow. So they were just playing them like really pitched up, and that's how it got the name speed garage. I think the tune that I make in my new tutorial might be classed as speed garage because it's definitely got that like, well, it just sounds like exactly what it is, which is a drum and bass and jungle producer making a garage tune, you know. Obviously, I've made a lot of tunes at like 140 BPM and stuff like that, so I'm saying that I'm new to it, but it's just like it's the shuffle of the hi-hats that is like kind of new to me, and I learned it from a stranger tutorial, and I did shout him out in the video, you know. I'm not going to try and hide it, that I basically learned how to do the drums from a stranger tutorial, but when you hear my tune, it's nothing like he makes at all, you know. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Ben. So those original USA records that people started playing faster and stuff, they had more of a four to the floor kind of beat to them. But I think it was the UK, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the UK, they were the ones that came with the two-step garage. I watched an amazing documentary about it. So that's why they had to call it UK Garage. That's our version, the two-step stuff. UKG. Yeah, that's it. It was saying that in the documentary about the Sunday sessions. So you've already been raving all weekend to drum and bass and stuff, and then you basically go to the club on a Sunday and listen to a load of garage. Sound like fun days. Obviously, they must have been fueled by some chemicular stimulation. But shout out them guys, they were having a lot of fun. Alright, so we've got a 16 bar section that is strictly drum and bass. Then it comes back with the Oasis original sample, which includes the piano and stuff. Now we're going to need another 16, and this one could be either orchestral or it could just have the pad. Wait, so I'm going to delete the Little James sample. Going to delete what we could have is intro LJ and Rev Rhodes. And what about this Rhodes? It's not even been heard yet. I'm not really feeling it, but what I could do is I'm going to simplify this Rhodes and take away this melody part. Anyway, I was a little kid at the time. You know, I was a kid when. Do you remember this tune, "Sweet Like Chocolate Boy"? There was like So Solid Crew. There was I'll Bring You Flowers and the Pouring Rain. And Don't Hate on Me because I was a little kid, but I did actually quite like Sweet Like Chocolate. Shanks and Bigfoot, that was the one. And I bet if you watch the music video now, it probably looks terrible, but at the time we thought it was like the absolute pinnacle of computer graphics. Hey, you want to be careful with them records in the attic. I'm not sure what temperature it is right now, but I don't know. Can hot sunny days destroy your records and make them all floppy? I don't know. I know if you're in direct sunlight, if you're playing on decks outside in the sun, it can literally heat up your records and warp them, so you got to be careful. Not trying to make you paranoid, Ben, but you want to check on them records in the attic and make sure they're all still flat. They can be melted. I've heard it's a heat wave in Britain right now. And can we just take a moment to appreciate how sick an 808 sounds when you put it through that sinoid fold saturator? See this on the saturator, you've got these different options and one of them's called sinoid fold. Listen to how the 808 sounds when you put it through that. Is that high one? Oh yeah, that was it. So I started off with the wobble, but I never really used it. I'm glad your records are safe, mate, because we don't want Shanks and Bigfoot getting warped. Right, I'm going to do one final 16 bar section, which is going to be, actually what it'll be is this third one here, third one of the drop, is going to be where that wobble bass comes back in. So in this case, I'm going to need to do a little bit of editing of this bottom one here. So I'll just join those two clips together and colour this something else so we know it's different. And then I need to go, and that gets deleted. Alright, so Ben's saying, no, Suklal's saying on the fill, automate some reverb and delay. So I'm guessing you mean on this amen here. Do you mean automate it so that it gradually gets more reverb? So for example, starting at 0. Or starting at 7.5 and making its way up to 30%. With much less decay time. Alright, so how's that then? And then decay, delay. Did you say delay? Small delay. Again. So that actually sounded sick. Starting off very small amount of wet dry. We're going to go up to, again, 30 something. Yeah. It's just that it carries on, you know, when the drums come back, this is still doing its thing, and that ends up sounding a bit messy. One thing you can do, though, is, again, group these together and then automate this on-off button here so that this device comes on just during the amen break, and that means that when it finishes, there'll be no tail because it just turns off. Then you can just highlight this whole section, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Wait, so, by the way, this wobble is only supposed to be there during the third 16 bar section, there, and the rest of the time it's supposed to not be there. Okay, so Suklal's also saying about filtering out some of the low end of the amen break during this little fill. So one thing I could do is just click frequency, do one of these classic filter sweep ups like this. Always worth a try, innit? Little experimentation. Only takes you 2 seconds, and if it sounds crap, you just press undo. Right, I think I've taken it too far, though. There is, Suklal, there already is a subtle amen break going all the way through the drop. It's this. It's been there the whole time, hiding in plain sight. How's this fill? Yeah, I mean it works. I'll just duplicate that, like that. And I think we're getting towards the end of the stream, you know what I mean? Oh, sorry, it was Jason saying about the amen. Jason, I think perhaps you weren't here when we made the drums originally, but yeah, there is a layered cheeky amen in there the whole time. I only didn't include it in the beginning, so the first 16 bars of the track is the drums without the amen, and then on the drop it comes in. Anyway, let's listen to the whole thing. I'm just going to press save there. We'll listen to the whole thing and then I'm going to bounce because, to be honest with you, it's 2.5 hours without the AC on and I'm literally sweating. Big up Suklal, big up Jason Story, big up Ben. The Infidel UK, Future World Machines, out to Misty, big up the GOS. I want to give a special shout out to Gary Roach who kindly donated £2. And he's someone who's got the Fruity Loop symbol as his profile picture. And, you know, I really love it when people who don't even use Ableton watch my tutorials. It's good that you can get something from it even if you're not an Ableton user. Big up Danny, Gary Roach, Aaron303. I want to shout out Jenny, Manilyn Sahagun. And big up everyone who's watching who's not in the chat. I appreciate you guys. And big up everyone who's watching this back at a later stage. So Ben, actually, I didn't see that, but Ben told me that the Amen's standing out a bit too much, as in the fill. Standing out a lot compared to the preceding drums. It's true. It's not subtle, is it? Yeah, the Amen fill's not exactly like sounding great, is it? And then Jason's saying that maybe the Amen can peek out of the mix after the fill. What could it be, like one bar of just Amen like that? And then that bit could be turned up. Worth a try. Reverse it. Anyway, chavales, thank you all so much for joining me. Thanks for sticking around till the end. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for the UK Garage tutorial, which will be uploaded to my channel within less than a week. And I've got an amazing idea for next week's stream as well, which I'm not going to tell you yet, but be here, same time, same place next week, and we'll make another tune. Until then, have